Sofía Aguilar is a Chicana writer, editor, teaching artist, and library professional based in Los Angeles. Her work has been featured in the LA Times, Refinery 29 Somos, New Orleans Review, and with us, welcome to Pluto's. She has published several zines and poetry books, including her streaming service series, Amor, and her newly released children's picture book, Queer Latin Heroes. So, Sofía, thank you so much for joining us today. First question, what did you order?
I got a matcha latte today. It's pretty good.
Is that your typical order when you go to a coffee shop?
I feel like it always depends on what the coffee shop specialty is. I've been liking matcha lattes more. Typically I prefer it with a little bit of sweetener like agave. I really like adding agave as like a sweetener because it's like more natural.
Yeah.
But I love an unsweetened matcha too.
Yeah. Are you more of a matcha person now, you would say?
I think so. I didn't always like matcha because I feel like some people find it kind of bitter, but I find it refreshing. But yeah, I love a latte. I love any kind.
Okay, period. And you have certainly kept yourself busy throughout the years. You have written, edited, co-edited several publications. What keeps you motivated?
I think for me, this is like the thing I love doing the most. Like I love my full-time job and it's great, but I think writing has always been for me like an instinctual thing to do. Like when I was little, I never really thought about doing anything else. Like my mom put me in all these extracurriculars, but writing was the thing like I always came back to. It was the thing I loved doing the most, that brought me the most happiness. So to me, like I often say like my writing work doesn't always feel like work. Not only because I'm not clocking in and out, it's like a perpetual thing in my life, but also because it's fun and it brings me joy. And I mean, ideally all jobs should be fun, right? And you should like them. But for me, writing is one of those things that I can't imagine doing anything else, and it comes so naturally to me, and so it's a part of who I am as much as anything else.
Do you think being a writer kind of helped you choose what profession you want to be? Because you're a librarian now, so was that kind of like easy for you, like to be surrounded by books?
I mean, I feel like I've tried different jobs. I've done a lot of office jobs. I feel like library work has only been very recent. Like within the past 2-3 years, like I got my master's in library and information science, and I definitely feel like it's one of those things like it's tied, like you said, so intrinsically with the work that I do as a writer, and so I feel like it kind of just naturally works out. Like I get, right, like you said, like I get to be surrounded by books and stories, and I get to learn like the practical side of what it means to share books with the world, like processing them, like stamping them, and like wrapping them in plastic, and like learning all these new skills have made me look at book publishing in a new way, because I've seen it from the publishing side, like how books get created, and then now I'm in this part of the industry where it's like, okay, so how do we get books to people? And that seeing all of those different sides of the publishing industry, as well as being a writer of books myself, has been really fun.
You just released your new book, Queer Latin Heroes. What has that response been like?
Surprisingly, well, maybe not surprisingly, overwhelmingly supportive.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like I was, for a lot of some obvious reasons, I was a little worried about sharing it because I think the world has been ready for queer stories for a long time, but I think queer stories for kids is still like a part of the publishing industry that I feel like needs to be tapped into more. But it's also the part of the publishing industry that I think faces the most book bans. And I think for me, I was a little nervous. Like I was excited, I was anticipating like, you know, like this really like supportive response, and thankfully I did for the most part. But it definitely has been interesting to see some other people's reactions to it. Like certain libraries either don't want it or don't want to shelve it in the children's section. Like they're like, oh, we feel more comfortable shelving it in adults. And so those conversations have been really interesting to navigate. Definitely frustrating at times, but I think in a way I was kind of prepared for that because of the subject matter. Like some people just don't want to quote unquote expose their children to like the fact that queer people exist for whatever reason. And at some point I'm just like, I have to let that go and just be like, the book is gonna find its audience and it's gonna resonate with the people who deserve to read it and who want to read it and who genuinely like, you know, want to pass on this history, like this knowledge to like the next generation, because that's how we become more compassionate toward each other and accepting and celebratory, as opposed to what I'm seeing, you know, in terms of like anti-trans bills and all of these kinds of regressive steps that we're taking, I think, in our political life right now. And so for me, I'm hoping that the book is breaking and will break the noise, all of that kind of just like hatred and misunderstanding and ignorance, and specifically for kids, because they get to learn about this from a young age, and I'm hoping that's impactful.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid, I feel like the books that I read still stick with me, and I hope that this book will be one of them for today's kids, if possible.
It's a picture book too, right? So, how many pages is it?
It's 64 pages, which is long for a picture book, but it's basically that long because every person gets a double spread, and so it's not just all, like, it's not 64 pages of words. It's maybe like 30, because one half is like the description I wrote, like the biography, and then the other half is the illustration of the person. And all the illustrations were done by this amazing illustrator from Seattle, Valentine de Luna Cortez. Just an amazing person besides being an incredible artist. And it was also really important for me and the publisher to find an illustrator that was queer and Latina, just like me. And like we wanted all of that to be like a cohesive representation of what this, like, you know, what our community is. And so I was really lucky that, you know, he wanted to be involved and that he wanted to get on board, and meeting him in person for the first time after the book came out was amazing and so heartwarming. And so I give full credit to Valentine for making the book look as it did. Like, he just blew it out of the water for me.
No, yeah, it looks gorgeous.
Thank
it looks
you.
really cool. It's really fun, and it has a lot of different people in it. People that you didn't really think about, might not have known, which is very insightful. Also, so what is your favorite book or zine that you have published so far? You've done several publications. You're actually gonna publish something else. You're gonna publish your finale for a streaming service, and you also are co-editing the Chillona zine right now. What has been your favorite work you put out so far?
That's a really good question. It's so hard to choose because I think I love them all for different reasons. I think probably my favorite will have to be the Amor chapbook I published this past, oh my God, I think it was this past March. Just because I feel like it's to date like my most vulnerable work. Like, it's my most like intimate, and like I really was scared of publishing that because I was like, oh, I don't know if people are gonna like this. This is like me like stripped down. Like, this is like, I feel like I'm laying naked on the page. Like, that's how it feels to me. But people have really loved it, and for me, it's like obviously represents like this really crucial part of my life with my partner, and like what love is supposed to look like, or what I think it's supposed to look like. You know, I wrote it because I was like, there's not a lot of books out there that talk about love in a very positive way. Like, it's important to talk about the destructive parts, like the bad parts. You know, the parts that are like still kind of taboo, right? But I think for me, I was like, there's no real book out there for me that I've seen that like celebrates love and like talks about it in a way that's like real and meaningful and uplifting, you know? And so for me, that book is all of those things, or at least I wanted it to be all those things, to celebrate just the purity and the magic that love can be if you let it.
The topic of love, I think, is very raw and vulnerable for anybody. Whenever someone falls in love, you do kind of like just strip down of everything, and you do a lot of dumb things for love. You learn a lot of things from love, and I think that book, I think that is also like one of my favorite topics that you've done. It's like, it's just, it resonates with anybody.
Thank you.
Last thing, would you share a piece that you've written for us?
Yeah, of course.
Yay.
So I decided, since you brought up my upcoming chapbook, next year. I wanted to kind of read a piece from it, like as
Streaming
a sneak
service?
peek. Yeah.
Yes.
So I wanted to read a piece from streaming service season finale or series finale. Should get my own titles right. Yeah, just kind of like as a sneak peek of what this collection is going to be like. I'm really excited about it. It's definitely different. Definitely, I think, probably the best out of the whole like series. Definitely, probably my favorite. I think it's easy. That one's my favorite. So.
Wait, for the people that don't know, do you want to kind of describe what this series is about?
Yeah, so it's kind of each book I feel like is reflective of where I was in my life. Like when the first one came out, I was still living, you know, like kind of living this kind of life where I wasn't really sure what I was doing. And I think just reflecting a lot on like my past and my family, like relationships and stuff. And then season 2, I think, again, it's like it captures like another few months of my life where I'm kind of starting to get more into my voice and embrace who I am and figure out the person I want to be as opposed to the person I think I'm supposed to be. And then I feel like this third one, I feel like I wrote it over the course of maybe like 2 to 3 months. And I really tried to write about things I was like living, experiencing in the moment. So there are a lot of poems in there about like things that I'm thinking about my gender and like talking about like mental health because I was going through a lot of mental health like issues at the time and thinking about like family. Like I feel like the topics kind of range. There is no one set theme because in real life that's not how life works. There is no one set theme for your life. You're always constantly navigating different issues and different parts of who you are and your identity and stuff. So all of the books kind of span a lot of different subjects and themes and issues.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
That's a very cool way of writing it.
Thank you.
You can go ahead and share something
Okay.
for us.
So this was the last poem to be added to the collection and probably one of my favorites. So it's called Love Can Be Found in Fruteros. And a frutero is like a cup of cut up fruit that vendors will often sell in the street. I love that like immigrants just like love cut fruit. I feel like that's a thing across a lot of different diasporas, and for me it holds a lot of meaning for like the Mexican community too. Like my dad, I always say, like I always joke about like he's never apologized to me verbally, but like he'll bring me a bowl of cut fruit, and that's like his way of like I still love you and I still care about you, but he won't say it. He'll just like give it to me and then walk away. So we have like a long history, I think, with cut up fruits. So this is that poem.
That's sweet.
Okay. Love can be found in fruteros. I ask for one with everything. Mixto, todos las frutas. I am in New York with my mother and choose to consume what reminds me most of home. They say you can be transported like Dorothy, trade her red slippers for a slice of cucumber, a cube of melon slathered in chamoy and tajin. My abuela and I have the same favorite fruits, our own secret language of sandia y mango. I remember her so free, licking her fingers delicately, as my father drove with enough will that the cup trembled in my hands. 2 years later and 3,000 miles away, it's as if I'm watching a surgeon slice into bone. Peels fall, juice pools, and there I stand, waiting, salivating like a dog at the sight of a knife. Fruits are full of water too, or so my lover says, and there are infinitely worse ways to quench thirst from a body. I eat and suddenly I'm not worlds away from birthplace. My house is around the corner. Every bird call in Central Park sounds like a version of a sparrow song I've heard before. The pineapple tastes of my people's hands, the seeded grapes of the earth, of me. I pass the frutero to my mother, who squints and then chooses the mango. I swallow the seeds this time. I want to tell you I'm not afraid of blooming anymore, reaching and beautiful. Thank you.
Yay, thank you so much. You know, as a first generation Latina, a strong queer ally, a writer myself, I think your work is incredible, and
Thank you.
you know, just thank you for just using your voice to share your story, uplift other people. And yeah, you're amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. Is there anything else you would like to shout out? We have Queer Latin Heroes out, and then we're gonna have streaming service, the finale out. Anything else you would like to share?
Not really. I just feel like I'm just so lucky to be a writer. Like, I feel like so many people have stories to tell, but they're maybe not ready to tell them, or they don't know how to. And I think I'm just grateful that I get to do it just for myself, to be like a historian of my own life in a way. Maybe that's like corny or whatever, but I feel like I'm just grateful to be able to not only be a writer myself, but be in community with other writers and learn from them and exist in the same space as them. Especially Paula, I think she's really done so much for the LA poetry scene here, and I can't thank her enough for offering me all the opportunities that she's done, including, you know, this interview series. Yeah. So I just am thankful that I was invited and that she, you know, wanted me to be featured, and just so lucky and thankful. So thank you. And thank you for your questions and for interviewing.
Yes, of course. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Paula, and welcome to Pluto. Okay.
Yay.
I think that's it.